My name is Doug Stone. I play the tenor saxophone and teach jazz at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge. I began playing music professionally as a teenager. One of the many enjoyable things about playing gigs is the wonderful hang that happens when musicians get together. Beyond Tenor Talk is an updated and expanded version of my original Tenor Talk podcast. Beyond Tenor Talk features conversations with great musicians who don't all play the tenor saxophone. The conversations are reminiscent of the hang shared by musicians before a gig, after a gig, and during breaks on a gig. I hope you all enjoy these conversations as much as I do. Zahria Sims, hello. How are you doing? Welcome to Tenor Talk.
Hey, Doug. I'm good. How are you?
I am fabulous. I'm so glad for this opportunity to chat.
Absolutely.
Before I start asking you questions, I'm just going to kind of set us up here a little bit. So, well, let me ask you this first. Did you just finish your sophomore year of college?
Yes, sir. I just finished sophomore, going into junior in August next month.
So I basically just finished my sophomore year as a teacher at LSU too.
Oh, really?
So I had heard your name a little bit because I moved to Baton Rouge to teach at LSU in 2018. And so I think that must have been the year you graduated from Baton Rouge High. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's really cool. I'm sure that if I would have been here earlier, I would have been recruiting you very hard for our program. So you just got out from under me.
Yep,
I would have had you. So that's great. And I think, I've heard great things about you in terms of what you're doing now and your involvement in the Sisters in Jazz group we were just talking about that I saw. But I just kind of like to start and get a little bit of a background on you and your life and how you got involved in playing the saxophone and some of the things that you've done. So, so maybe just start at the beginning. Tell us where you're from and how you got interested in the saxophone and jazz and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I started playing the piano around 7 or 8 years old. And that was fun, but I didn't take it too seriously. I didn't take music seriously at all until around 7th grade.
Okay.
I joined the concert band at Sherwood Middle.
Okay. I was going to wonder about, where you went to middle school. Okay, great. So that's obviously, a great program here.
Absolutely. My decision on picking the saxophone, though, was really random. There was no real passion behind it at that point. But I liked it. I liked how it sounds. So I started playing on alto and I picked it up pretty easily. And the following year, I switched to tenor and was forced to join the jazz band. Shout out Mr. Pizzo. And that's really how I got into jazz and music in general, really.
So did you began playing saxophone in 7th grade? That was your first experience with playing saxophone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was Mr. Pizzo, was he teaching all the instruments? Was there an elementary school band program where there were beginners that were a little bit farther along than you in 7th grade, or were all the students starting in 7th grade?
Well, most of the kids had started in 6th grade.
Okay.
But prior to that, I don't know if anybody had actually been playing for a while at that point.
Yeah.
So we were all pretty much beginners.
Gotcha. Okay. So from your middle school days, then you moved on to Baton Rouge Magnet High School, right?
Yep, with Bobby Campo.
Okay. So Bobby Campo is still there. And tell me about the audition. Is there an audition process for Baton Rouge High School? How does that all work?
I don't think there was, not for the class, but there was the after school combo that required an audition.
Okay, cool.
With Mr. Esnault.
Yeah. So tell me about your experience there and the groups you played in, and yeah, tell me about the combo, just everything you did there and how that kind of contributed to your growth as a jazz musician. And obviously, at some point during your high school years, you had a strong enough spark to say, okay, I'd like to major in jazz at the college level. So just kind of tell me about that growth and development that happened while you were in high school.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for that time because I got to experience playing with a group outside of like the regular school big band thing.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I got more opportunities to improvise, figure out what I want to sound like and how I interact with other musicians. So that was a very important experience for me. And I'm pretty sure I had my first gigs with that group.
Okay. So what ensembles did you participate in at Baton Rouge High?
There was the jazz ensemble, like the big band.
Yep.
And then there was Mr. Esnault's small combo, which was like 7 kids, I think.
Right. Was there a concert band or anything like that, wind ensemble, classical playing involved, or were you just doing the jazz band and the combo?
Yeah, I was just doing jazz band. I wasn't in any concert or symphonic bands.
Interesting. Did you have a private lesson teacher during those high school years or middle school years? Like, have you had private saxophone teachers?
No, honestly, I didn't have my first private lesson until I was at Loyola with DeGrady.
Holy cow. Wow, that's fascinating. So,
because honestly, there weren't that many saxophone teachers around until Mr. Johnson came down from New Orleans my senior year, I believe. Like there was really no one around that I knew of. And I didn't really pursue it as much as I definitely should have. So there's that.
Yeah. So what how did you what did you work on? How did you deal with the saxophone? That's just fascinating to me. The amount of development. I mean, to a certain extent, especially in terms of saxophone playing, that's like being self-taught. So did you tell me about this? Like, what did you practice? What did you work on? Maybe it was just natural talent and you just pulled your saxophone out every day at school and you sounded great. But I would just be interested to know, like, what were you working on? You know, how did you develop to the point that you were able to do a college audition and get into a school like Loyola?
Man, I feel like listening was the most essential part of my musical upbringing. I listened to so much music constantly, especially when in middle school, when I was starting to get into jazz. I listened to, I had a little iPod and I listened to tons of albums constantly, like the same few albums.
What were they? Give me some names here.
Okay. I had this $10 iTunes gift card and I bought like some random stuff from the 99-cent section and it was mostly like not very popular jazz stuff. So I got what was it? Ray Charles and Count Basie album.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
I listened to that constantly. There was the Dave Brubeck's Greatest Hits album.
Okay.
And I fell in love with Paul Desmond through that. What else was there? Oh, there was like this Herbie Hancock solo piano album that I loved.
Wow.
It's called The Piano.
Okay. Wow, I don't even know that one. Okay.
And Mongo Santa Maria. I listened to a lot of Cuban jazz.
Okay. Wow, cool.
Yeah. That's where most of my interests were at that time.
And so is the Basie thing, the Ray Charles, is that like I Can't Stop Loving You is on there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, What a Beautiful Morning.
Oh yeah.
Crying Time. A lot of good stuff is on that album.
Yeah. Are there some tenor solos on there or alto solos, saxophone solos?
Honestly, there aren't that many solos. Okay. It's mostly just him singing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So as a middle schooler, you said, I like this music. I want to get into this. You bought some stuff for your iPod, but it was a small amount of stuff, right? You kind of make me feel by how you said this is that it was just a few albums that you were listening to, but you really digested them. You really listened to them a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Huh. Okay, so what about then as you worked with, so some of these names, I just want to set up a little bit. Bobby Campo is a great trumpet player, great soloist, great lead player. I've played with him in several different contexts, but he's also, of course, a well-known band director here in this area. Also, of course, famous for playing flute in Louisiana LaRue, which is, the guy's a trumpet player.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes. Yeah. So quite a diverse background there with what Bobby can do.
Yep.
And then you've mentioned a couple other important people. I want to dig into a little bit about what you worked on with Mike Essenault. I'm actually curious to know what kind of material you did with the Baton Rouge High Big Band with Mr. Campo. But you also mentioned Clarence Johnson, who has been on this show as well. And so did you take, you didn't really take any lessons with him, but was he coming over to Baton Rouge High for a little while?
No, we never saw him at Baton Rouge High, but I went over there a couple times to lead to take a couple lessons. Great. It was literally one lesson that I took my senior year. I should have gone back, but
gotcha. Yeah. So of course, one of the cool things about living in this part of the country is the proximity to great New Orleans musicians, and of course, Mike Essenault and Bobby Campo are here, in Baton Rouge, but they're basically, in terms of their career and their musical involvement, they are heavily tied into the New Orleans scene, So a lot of these folks are like all of us, they need some kind of full-time work, and so the teaching thing provides a great opportunity, and of course, they're great teachers too. So I'm kind of curious as to the process and the teaching of these guys because, I know them, I've seen a little bit of their teaching work, but I mostly know them in terms of just playing together. So tell me about the big band at Baton Rouge High under the direction of Bobby Campo, like the music you were doing, what the rehearsals were like, that sort of thing. Like how did Bobby's teaching in that, influence and impact you?
Okay, yeah. He's a great person. I really miss him. So the rehearsals were really laid back. I can't even tell you what kind of music we did. It was so long ago. Honestly, high school was a blur. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we did like bassy stuff.
Yeah.
A couple Ellington. Regular high school big band charts, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing too serious.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then you were involved in a combo with Mr. Essenault. So tell me about that experience and the stuff you did there and how he approached improvising and playing jazz and playing as a group and all that.
The combo was really fun with Mr. Essenault. He gave us a lot of freedom to do what we wanted. He gave us the opportunity to write for the combo, arrange, and things like that, which gave me that was my first opportunity to write for an ensemble, and I still play that song to this day.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a cool group. We played different events for like EBR and stuff like that. So it was a fun opportunity to play professionally.
Yeah. Okay, so at what point during this time did you say, okay, I think this is something that I feel this draw or desire to pursue at a deeper level?
I probably felt that way around 10th grade. I had just joined a band with some other kids in the program at school. And while playing with them, that's when I realized that I really, really loved playing music with other people and that I wanted to do it for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have anyone in your family who has a background in music? Like, what did you know about auditioning for colleges and being a music major at college? Like, was this something that seemed completely new? Was it something that your family was like, you're going to do what? Or was it something that there was a very straightforward path for you that seemed natural and comfortable, that you knew the next steps and that sort of thing?
Well, both of my parents are musicians. They both played gospel piano, organ. My mom played flute and clarinet, I think, in the Southern University jazz. The jukebox. Yeah.
Okay.
So music was very present in my household.
Yeah.
But there was never pressure to be a musician.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of drawn to it naturally.
Yeah.
So the decision to play in college, they weren't surprised or anything, and they didn't try to discourage me.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that and for them.
Yeah.
It made sense,
Yeah. Were they music majors? Like, so your mom went to Southern. Was your dad also at Southern? Were they involved in music in college?
They were involved in music, but not within college. Or like my dad wasn't involved with the school. He played church and he was like a math major or something.
Okay.
And my mom, she was in the band, but I think she was doing secondary education, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what did you do any summer camps or anything like that during high school?
Yeah, I did the Loyola Jazz Camp.
Okay.
10th grade through 12th. And that's how I found out about Loyola.
Yeah. So tell me about the camp. How do they structure it? Is there theory classes, improvisation classes, combos, big bands? Like what's the camp? What's the Loyola Camp? Kind of what's the daily schedule and who are the teachers and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so there was like a congregational type thing every day where we all meet, talk about like the plan for the rest of the week. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure every day there was like a history type lesson about jazz and specifically jazz in New Orleans. And then there were some theory classes, improv classes where we go through different songs, playing them. And there were 2 or 3 big bands, I believe. So each day was like a rotation of those few things. It was a really fun experience. I recommend it to any kids trying to get into jazz.
Do any of the teachers in particular stand out to you, or is it all Loyola faculty?
Yeah, it was all Loyola faculty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you been involved with the camp since then? And do they have student counselors or anything like that? Of course, I guess maybe there would only been one chance, right? Because I'm sure they didn't have the camp this summer. Right. So is there opportunities for Loyola students to be involved then in the camp?
Yeah, absolutely. I met not most. I met a few of the kids who have already graduated like this past year. I met them through the Loyola Camp when I was in high school. So when I came here, I already knew like a handful of people.
Wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's great. That's really cool. Okay. So how about colleges? Were there other places other than Loyola that you were interested in, other teachers you were interested in studying in? What was the process that then led you towards Loyola?
Well, at first I wasn't really sure I wanted to even major in music. So that was the main like thing. But then once I finally decided on music, it was between Loyola, LSU, and Berkeley, and like some school in California. Then I realized that I had no actual connection to those other schools other than the fact that they were known for music.
Yeah.
And Loyola just felt familiar and right. I don't know if that makes sense,
Of course it does.
Was the right decision to make. So that's how I ended up with Loyola.
I think one of the great things about that place and the opportunities there is that you are in New Orleans,
Oh,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a city that the pulse of the city is music, and specifically the kind of music that we're interested in.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
have you, since you've been at Loyola, have you been able to be involved in the New Orleans scene at all? Are you, playing with groups, going out, do you feel like
Mhm.
you are part of that New Orleans scene? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm definitely a part of like the college music scene down here.
Okay.
I don't go out as much as I should, but I definitely feel like I'm a part of the college scene for sure. I have my own group that I play with, and I also play with a whole bunch of other kids, specifically at Loyola.
Okay.
So I'm in there.
What types of, so I want to, we'll talk about your group. Are you playing in other groups that are led by other people, Loyola students and that? Or just, kind of getting together and playing? How organized are the groups you're involved with?
Yeah, it's not that organized. It's more like,
Okay.
hey, are you free tonight? Can you come play? And I say, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
great.
not like, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Attention saxophone players. I want to connect you with Jack Finucane and the Boston Sax Shop. Jack is a world-renowned saxophone technician. He has also designed specialty reeds, reed cases, ligatures, neck straps, necks, and saxophone cases. Jack's work and his saxophone gear will change your playing and probably even your life. I encourage you to make a special trip to my website, DougStoneJazz.com, and click on the link to the Boston Sax Shop store. You will be glad you did. Tell me, let's see. I'm interested to know about what you're doing with your group and what you think of as your kind of, musical voice at this point. But
Mhm.
I also would just like to know what you're working on, what you're practicing. What are some things that you are developing? What is some of the progress you've found yourself making, over these 2 years? I mean, obviously, you were selected to play in this Sisters in Jazz group, which I think is really important and cool. And so there's some kind of development and some kind of work and practicing that you're doing. So what do you do? What are you working on? What's your kind of, daily routine in terms of practicing?
Hmm. So I usually like to record myself and just play whatever comes to mind.
Mm.
That's something I've been doing recently a lot. Because I find that helps me find the things that I don't like in my playing and try to focus on that more. Like, say for instance, I don't like my phrasing sometimes. So as I'm playing, I'll try to think about how I can make my phrasing better. Um, I've been also transcribing a lot of older people playing ballads. I say older people, like older school, like earlier tenor saxophonists, like Coleman Hawkins, Lester Young, those types of cats playing their ballads, because they just play differently. I don't know how to explain it. They play so lyrically
Yeah.
and they emote a lot through their music. So I've been
Yeah.
trying to play copycat on that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, that's mostly what I'm working on now as far as practicing.
Do you have any like scale routines that you work through, learning vocabulary in other keys, that sort of thing?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I need to work on that on my cellular works. Yeah, ugh, I'm working on it.
What about in terms of the uh, the transcription that you're doing? What is your process? Are you singing through the solo for have, even how do you come to the solos that you're choosing to transcribe? Give me like like if you're to the point where you're going to transcribe such and such a tune, how did you get to the point there where, okay, I want to work on this thing, and then after that, how do you go about learning that solo?
So right now I'm learning different versions of Body and Soul.
Okay.
And so I started with Coleman Hawkins' version. I took it piece by piece. I didn't learn how to sing the whole solo and then go back and try to play it on the horn. I pretty much just go along with him and learn it phrase by phrase.
Yep.
So that's how I'm doing that one. That's how I do most of my transcriptions, honestly.
Yeah. And so what other versions of Body and Soul are you checking out?
Dexter Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
John Coltrane, and then Sonny Rollins.
That is awesome. Oh,
yeah.
It's nice to be back on this Tenor Talk thing. So, Zahria, this is great. So you've got the Coleman Hawkins version of Body and Soul, which is definitive. This is the definitive version of this tune. This solo changed the way tenor players thought about, and probably more than just tenor players, but for us, that was a earth-shattering type of a musical moment there, You're
right, yeah.
And then you've got Dexter, and you've got Train, and you've got Sonny Rollins. I mean, these are the grandfathers, and of course, each one of them would kind of, I think, look to, of course, Coleman Hawkins as being kind of their inspiration or such an influence. Have you seen the letter that Sonny Rollins wrote to Coleman Hawkins? Have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you got to check it out. You know what, Zahria? I think we might just geek out here.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna see if I can find this letter. Let's see. So, Sonny, this is the beauty of the internet. Sonny Rollins letter to, there it is. See, you just type in Sonny Rollins letter, and there it is. Okay, Zahria, we are gonna geek out on this right now. Hopefully, I can make it big enough so that my tiny eyes can see it. And it might be multiple pages here. I will definitely put this in the show notes. I want to see if I can find a slightly easier to read version. So, of course, we know that, this is good. We know that Coleman Hawkins was a huge influence to Sonny Rollins. And Sonny Rollins would stand outside, or there's a story of Sonny Rollins standing outside of Coleman Hawkins' house just waiting for him to come out just to see him, But we're going to read some excerpts of this letter, okay? And so we got this Body and Soul idea. Oh, this is so great. So this is from October 13th, 1962, okay? From Sonny Rollins to Coleman Hawkins, it says, "My dear Mr. Hawkins, your recent performance at the Village Gate was magnificent. Quite aside from the fact that you have maintained a position of dominance and leadership in the highly competitive field of jazz for the time that you have, there remains the more significant fact that such tested and tried musical achievement denotes and is subsidiary to personal character and integrity of being. Wow. There have been many young men of high potential and demonstrated ability who have unfortunately not been men in their personal and offstage practices, and who soon found themselves devoid of the ability to create music. Perhaps these chaps were unable to understand why their musical powers left them so suddenly, or perhaps they knew what actions were constructive as opposed to destructive, but were too weak and not men enough to command the course of their lives. But certain it is that character, knowledge, and virtue are superior to music as such, and that success is relative to the evolution of those qualities within us all. That it has been positive and lasting for you, Coleman, is to the honor and credit of us, your colleagues, as well as to your own credit, for you have lit the flame of aspiration within many of us, and you have epitomized the superiority of excellence of endeavor, and you stand today as a clear living picture and example for us to learn from. It has always been a task to explain in words those things which in nature are the most profound and meaningful. Now you have shown me why I thought so much of you for so long. Godspeed in your travels, and may I be fortunate enough to hear you play the tenor saxophone again in person. Yours truly, Sonny Rollins. Is that not the most cool thing ever?
Literally, that's so cool. He was a Coleman Hawkins stan. That's so cool.
So I will, we got to make sure you get a copy of that to see, but it's out there if you just type it in on the internet. So I love that you're doing those transcriptions. That's so great. Now, sorry, we had to geek out, right? How could, after this, after that, you brought up Sonny and Coleman. How could we not go there?
Yeah.
So when you start your practice sessions and you're just playing, are you playing free or are you playing over a tune? What is there any kind of constraints that you set up for yourself?
No, and I feel terrible saying that because my practice sessions are always, they're not even real practice sessions anymore at this point. I'm just picking up the horn and literally playing anything. I have zero structure.
That's fine though.
Is it?
So when you zero into this idea that, okay, I'm not digging my phrasing, what are things you do to work on that? Are you just trying to play differently? Are you just blowing and then you're playing differently to try to address some of those phrasing things? Or will you work on fragments of ideas, or will you try to extend phrases? Or am I being too nerdy and you can't even put it into words?
No, I got it. So I'm trying to extend the phrases more. Like I'll listen to me playing something like a 2-5-1 lick, let's say, and it's just like really poppy to my ears and I don't like it. I'll try to take the idea and make it sound how I think it should sound.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your group and the music that you're thinking about and writing and working on for your group.
Okay, so my group is called the Zahria Sims Collective. That may or may not change. We're still thinking about that one. And it's a 7-piece group. It's me on tenor. I have an alto sax player, Jake Peff, drummer, Travis Simmons, bassist, Dane Harder, vocalist, Rocky Leonard, keys, Shout Young, and guitar, Ryan Pennington. So we play I guess it's like jazz influenced funk / R&B. It's a nice mix of different things. So we play, I try to make all the sets like half originals and then half covers.
Okay.
Our repertoire is not that long right now. We're working on building up a longer set. So, but the virus happened, so we haven't been able to do that. We were supposed to record some stuff towards the end of the semester, but now we're looking towards sometime in the fall.
Yeah. Are you writing lyrics for anything?
I wrote lyrics to one song, but I try to leave it up to the vocalist to do that.
Oh, wow, that's cool. So it's really kind of a collaborative thing in terms of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Did you have any gigs? Where were you playing before everything completely shut down?
Yeah, we were playing places pretty close to school. There's a venue not too far from the campus called Gasa Gasa. We played there maybe 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
Where else have we played? There's a place on Magazine. I can't think of the name. We played there a couple times too.
Okay.
So yeah, we're playing.
Cool. And do you have some stuff on YouTube, Facebook? Like, is there any kind of EPK or anything that's available that people could check out?
No, unfortunately, there is not. We're working on it.
Well, good. Yeah, got to make that happen too. That's great.
Yeah.
So tell me about this Sisters in Jazz thing. Was that something you auditioned
Mhm.
for? Like, actually, maybe tell us what that is, and then tell us about your involvement and how you became a part of that.
So the Sisters in Jazz combo was a group that you have to audition for. It's a part of the Gen Conference. They select 5 girls, 5 women, to play at the conference under the tutelage of a mentor. So this year was Tia Fuller, and she's amazing.
Oh, wow.
Love her.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
So we rehearse for 3 days and then perform at the end of the conference.
Wow. Who else was in there with you?
There was Domi Edson from Colorado, Kate Williams from California, Misaki from Japan, and Maya Karen from Philly. So we were from.
Was it great?
Over.
That sounds so fun.
No, it was honestly one of the best weeks of my life. I had so much fun, and I learned so much. I wish I could go back and do it again. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Wow. Did Tia bring in all the tune suggestions, or were you doing originals, or were you doing standards? What was the repertoire?
So yeah, we decided to do all originals. We played maybe 6 or 5 originals, and then like 2 standards, I think.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. What was some of the? Do you have any kind of moments with Tia where it had a deep impact on you, either something that led to some lasting practicing that you've been doing, or just like a thought about music? You know, I can go through so many experiences like that for myself when I've worked with great people like that. And, you know, maybe it didn't work out that way for you and it was just more of a general thing. But did you have any moments like, oh, okay, this is going to open my eyes to something?
Yeah. So the first thing we ever did together, we walked in, she was like a couple minutes late. All of a sudden the lights are off and she says, play. And like nobody knew what to do, but we eventually just kind of inched towards something that sounded musical, and eventually it just grew into this big symphony of sound, and it was amazing to see how we all connected immediately with each other, even though we couldn't see, we didn't know what the other person was going to do next. Honestly, that was one of the best moments of my entire musical experience.
Oh, so and then, great.
Yeah, Tia is cool because she has like these mantras that she says, and one that really stuck with me since then was faith over fear. I don't know, that statement was just so profound to me that week, and it stuck with me since. So yeah.
Wow. I love it. She's done some Instagram Live things, I think, during this whole time, and I've been able to watch a little bit of that, you know. Wow, that is so great. What a cool experience. Well, this has been great. What are your future ambitions? You want to stay in New Orleans? You want to get this group going a little bit more? Like, you know, I, of course, when I was your age, was probably very conservative in my thinking about what the possibilities were for my musical life. And the interesting thing is that I don't think that I would have ever envisioned doing really 90% of the stuff that I'm doing in my musical life and otherwise when I was your age. I tried many times to, you know, think about what if there was no limits on what I could do when I'm, you know, your age. What do I want to see myself doing in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years? So I'd be interested to know your thoughts on that. And then maybe if you have a more conservative side like I did, you know, what does that look like? So your biggest, your biggest, most wildest dreams as a musician, and then what would be, and maybe that's all you see because you're going to put your faith in that over your fear.
Yeah.
Or, or then on the other flip side of the coin there, do you have a more conservative view for where you might go? Just riff on that for a minute, Zahria.
Okay. My biggest, wildest dream would be to write for everybody. Not everybody, but like people who I like. I'm speaking more towards like R&B type stuff,
Ah, okay.
And then tour across Europe during the summers.
Beautiful. I think that's within your reach.
Oh, thank you. I'm striving towards that. Absolutely.
That's great. I have a friend, Greg Ward, who teaches at Indiana University, and I just talked to him the other day for one of these interviews, and he definitely, his mantra is just raise your hand and say, okay, I'll try it. If an opportunity presents itself, go for it, and then just allow that to dictate what happens. And he's done amazing things doing that. Do you think you'd like New Orleans to be your home base, or do you see yourself, moving on from there?
That's a tough one. I love New Orleans so much, but I haven't been anywhere, I need to get out. I need to go experience stuff. So I'm not too tied down to the idea of staying in New Orleans, no.
Yeah. Well, that's great. It's fun to do these interviews because I've talked to people who are just on all different points of the spectrum here. And I think that you are in an early point, what us old guys like me think of as kind of just the cusp, the beginning of so many cool things. And so it's just great to hear you and hear you talk about, what you're thinking and where you want to go, and the shape for your music and your life. And it's going to be fun to watch you. So do you have a website or, Facebook, Instagram, any place where people can kind of follow you and find out what you're doing?
Yeah, my Facebook is Zahria Sims. I'm working on a website.
Good.
My band's Instagram is ZSC Music. And
good.
Yeah, that's where you can reach me at.
That's great. Well, I'm so honored that you visited with me today, and
thank you so much for having me.
Best of luck, and thank you, Zahria. Thanks for checking out Tenor Talk. Visit DougStoneJazz.com for more episodes. Follow Doug Stone Jazz Saxophone on Instagram, and friend me on Facebook. Tenor talk to you later.